Hi, my name is Ryan James. If you're new here, if you're not, welcome back. I am an artist and illustrator from the UK, and this is part 2 of my sketchbook tour. So let's get this recorded quickly before I run off to the gym. I think we left on this part where I was just gathering bits and pieces. So here we are where I was drawing sharks. This half of the sketchbook, a lot of it is drawn from my dreams because I dream quite intensely. So yeah, I was dreaming about sharks one night and I don't quite know what that was all about, but there we go. I haven't actually been into my dream symbolism for a little bit, but yeah, so this is a little self-portrait, just a little caricature. This character tends to represent, and I know this might get a bit personal, but it tends to represent depression in my work. Whenever there's a lot of sadness in my heart, or I'm processing or transmuting some sadness, she tends to turn up on the sketchbook. I don't know what the reason is for her, but I actually really quite like the idea, so I think she has to end up on a canvas at some point, although I'm actively right now trying to evolve my work into something a little bit more painterly, so I'm not quite sure how this style is going to emerge in there. This is still carrying on with the motif of birds and keeping them moving through, and these were dinosaur stickers. I think my husband got those for me and they are everywhere. I do quite like to create small little characters on yellow post-it notes, and it's kind of a safe, quick way to play with ideas without committing to anything, because the way my brain works, it just tends to overcommit to pretty much everything, and before I know it, I've given myself the mission of creating like 100 of something, because my brain works in sequences of 100. Actually, hang on, I think I need an extra bit of light here. Bit better. Okay, good. Yeah, this was me playing with masks again. I think this would be, again, a good idea to have interlinking skull masks for some sort of vampiric fairy queen. For this, it's just playing with hats and trying to turn the hats into something. I know kind of the animal on head is a very overdone motif in a lot of artwork, but this is just something I wanted to play with in terms of creating hats, and it is something I'm going to go ahead with, and I wanted to draw more old men now that I'm becoming one. Back to owls. If you've seen one of my last vlogs, a quiet obsession with owls, they just turn up everywhere, and this was again just a quick sketch, an idea. Might actually work quite well as a headdress at some point for a character to come underneath, but uncertain. This is me trying to expand my palette a little bit, because I tend to keep it quite sort of muted sepias and browns, but I'm not sure I handled it too well. I think, again, I can tell myself here that I'm starting to get bored with my own style and I need something that's a little bit more textured, but sketchbooks are more about catching ideas and being a visual diary rather than some sort of active progression, or at least this sketchbook is more that anyway. These were, I was trying to create a bit more motion and fluidity into my work, because characters can be a bit rigid, so I wanted this to be, try to get at that in the flow of the hair, and even with the sort of subtle shape of the faces changing a little bit to create some sort of motion and movement. Didn't quite stick with it, although I wish I had, because it's right back to being static. Yeah, and in terms of symbolism, I draw knives a lot when my thoughts are in conflict, so that's part of the whole visual diary aspect of it. Yeah, drawing old men again. Now, this particular old man, he is based on my grandpa, God rest him, but he's also a character I'm using for a children's picture book that I've been quietly working on for about 15-20 years. Never really got around to it. It literally is just finding time. And this was, I think this is a guy at my gym who had the most impressive ginger mustache I've ever seen in my life. So I had to draw him. What's going on there? Oh, that's a ghost reading 50 Shades. You probably can't see it from there. This is a purple head grandma. There is a purple head grandma. The purple rinse is quite popular in the UK, and there's quite a few of them locally to me, so I just wanted to draw her and create that kind of gnome-ish aesthetic. These were just color tests. I think you've seen in the previous part 1 where I do pen drawings on top of them, and that is something I'll explore in a bit more depth. Maybe I do want to experiment more with, I don't know, with my style. I want to go sort of very more realistic, or a lot more realistic and surrealistic, but also I want to be really abstract as well, and I don't quite know how I'm going to merge the two yet. If you have ideas, I'm open to them. These were just a couple of characters. Again, this is a bit of a bunny motif, and I'm not quite sure I like how they came out. I like the designs, but I think it got a bit muddy in terms of color balance and how the whole thing worked out. I tried something new with the face here, and I don't know. I like the design and the flow of the hair. You see that in a fair bit of my work, me using hair to create a sense of motion or a sense of attachment, I suppose, symbolically, but there's also I'm working on the faces and the expressions of it, and I clearly didn't. I'm understanding now the importance of reference, so that's coming more into play, because I sometimes get afraid that my work is it can fall into that pattern of being a derivative of itself, and there's a certain creative fun in that, variations on a theme, but I don't know. I'm trying to create something a little bit different right now, and looking at this, I can see where I'm trying to move forward and where I'm staying with what's safe. Although I'm always going to be into Victoriana and into the dead stare. I'd be interested to see how that would look if I did it in a more realistic style. Keeping a check on that. With this one as well, might be fun to see what I could do with that in a realistic style. It is something, like I said, I'm working on right now, but right now I kind of like that though. That might make a nice actual proper painting. I've got plenty of canvases kicking about. I could chuck that one on one of those. This is me just working with some color, creating some movement, more of a just keep the hands busy, the hands moving as I create some more art. Still sticking with the bat wings theme again, Victoriana, witchy, gothy. I'm no longer a goth. I'm too old to be wandering around at the height of summer in a long leather jacket, but there are a pair of new rocks in my heart, so I think that counts. God, new rocks, that takes me back. Right, this was an experiment for a canvas. I had these long rectangular canvases, and I want to experiment being in the woods, characters wandering the woods. And while I like the character and I like the design, I think the execution came out a little bit too static, and his face is a little too expressionless for me. But the design, I think, is solid, and I think the color balance is okay. So when I do come to paint this up, of course, I'll have more trees and more texture and everything everywhere, and he will be a slightly more realistic version of himself. So I think these were me. I do have this web comic called Queen Farticus that I just haven't worked on in ages, and I keep meaning to, and the characters from that comic keep showing up in my sketchbooks every now and again, so I know it's sort of a creative nudge to get going. But yeah, I should look into that a little bit more. This is spray paint and biro pen, and then some Posca on the outside just to create some highlight. But I think I dusted it too much because the pen just didn't take so well. But I do stand by anything that is dinosaur related. so I can't. Oh, this one is. I can't remember the idea for that one. I can't remember why. But I like how it came out anyway. It's definitely a symbolic of negative thoughts leaving or following, but I think they're leaving, so that'll do. Again, more winged women with extremely long ponytails. I'm working through something here. I do want to do more of these. It's just a theme I'm interested in. I still creatively stand by it, but I do think it's the it's the lack of time I have and the lack of reference, I think, that's holding me back. So I think moving forward, I've kind of come to the idea that I will be making less work in terms of quantity, but hopefully it will be higher in terms of spec and engagement, and more in alignment with what's in my brain as opposed to making the best of what's just showing up on the canvas. I was working with the idea of doing a what's he called? Not Beelzebub, Behemoth or something. Baphomet. There we are. So I had to work on some sort of goat motifs, but didn't stick with it. This is another guy who goes to my gym, and he has the most incredible nose I've ever seen in my life. Aesthetically, I absolutely love large noses on men. There's something I just love about it visually, and I don't have one, and neither does my husband, unfortunately. But whenever I see a large nose on a man, just in terms of I want to draw it straight away. There's just something visually I love about it, and there's this youngster who goes to the gym who has the largest nose I've ever seen, and it's incredible, and I think he's awesome. I think this is just a YouTuber I was drawing while I was drinking coffee one morning, because I wake up at 5:30 to draw for an hour before I start my day, and I'm normally scrolling through YouTube when I'm fed up of all of the self-help stuff I tend to watch. I tend to just find random art vlogs or random art stuff. If you have one of those, leave it below so I can come find you, because I watch an hour every morning, just coffee, me, art, and whoever's online with me. So we go from there. This is when I return to doing a little bit more pencil drawings every morning. I'm actively working on trying to incorporate a bit more realism, so you can see sort of the goats there, and getting more reference for the horns and for the face and for stuff like that. I just pulled everything from that 100 heads challenge, and this is mixing it in with pen on tonal paper. I'm not sure how well the camera will pick that up, but quite like that. I was going for this half owl, half woman masked creature, wearing a Victorian bodice, but I'm not entirely happy with how it came out, if I'm honest. I think it didn't quite catch what I was going for. Though I still think it's a cool pencil sketch. No, yeah, that's that. Yeah, working more with that. Tonal paper, can't go wrong with a bit of tonal paper. And again, trying to get this half owl, half woman hybrid with horns. Again, while the sketch I enjoyed doing it, I don't think it got where I wanted it to go, sadly. So I switched to a half tiger, half woman chimera, and that was a bit more successful. And she might look nice painted up. We'll see how I feel about that. And also, I'm kind of going through a phase of painting animals that aren't in the animal's colour, so that's fine. The house sparrow, I kept dreaming of those, and that is I'm considering getting a tattoo of a house sparrow or a sleeve. I'll see how I feel about that. Maybe in my 40s is too old to be covering my body with tattoos, but we will see. This, I like how this came out, and she will definitely be a painting at some point where I'm starting to get a grip with what I actually wanted to create, and more tonal paper. going through there. I love a pair of ram's horns on a phone. This is a picture from an older sketchbook. This is another random owl. This is another stab at the owl chimera fawn type creature, and this was a bit more successful. Maybe because it was in profile, I was able to play with it a little bit more. But yeah, we'll see. Not 100% sold on that idea yet. This was, again, weirdly a dream. I had a dream where I was in a classroom and everyone in the classroom had these whales, these orcas that were on them, and they weren't hats. They were literally like backpacks, but it covered the entire head. It really made me want to make one. So I do have a sewing machine here, so maybe I can make some sort of orca hoodie, helmet, backpack type thing. That might be fun to do. I have, like, in the first half of the sketchbook there was that snail backpack, and this one could be an orca. I don't quite know how I pull it off, but it could be fun. Got a bit bored, so went back to sort of anime, illustration-y bits and pieces here, and this was a corn snake. I dreamt I got bitten by a corn snake, quite violently actually. So, don't quite know what that was all about subconsciously. More spray paint. This was a little bit more successful in its. The paint actually took to the paper a little bit better. I'm not sure if you can even see that properly, but it's just experimenting with tone and with ink and how that will go on a. How that will go, basically. These are some more post-it note sketches, post-it note character designs. I do have this sick idea of literally filling an entire sketchbook with these. It could be fun, actually. I think there's 100 post-it note sketch challenge online somewhere. If not, I just might do one anyway for myself for this channel. If you think it's a good idea, let me know. It could be fun. More owls and more house sparrows. Tattoo ideas. I know owls are really overdone when it comes to tattoos, but I still think it could bear some. I think this is one of my favorite pages, just tonally and the way everything came out. These were some experiments that did not go well. It's like I said, every now and again I get this idea that I can be an abstract artist, and everyone thinks being an abstract artist is easy until you try to be an abstract artist and you realize there's an actual skill involved and actual time and effort that goes into composition, and like, oh, and I always make that mistake every time I try to incorporate it into my work. Although that came out okay. That one came out okay. I think that's just acrylic paper with some stuff. This is playing with that theme again of creating, because I like to paint canvases in pairs. So this was going to be the second canvas to the first one, but this was going to be a bit more of a darker forest. And I did a darker forest in my owl video, where you can see kind of more what I was going there, and it just, this one did not take at all. I don't like how it came out at all. Even the hair and the design on the face didn't reach what I was trying to reach. But I think it kind of works. And I might sort of recycle her for something else. We'll see. Ooh, more owls. I've forgotten what I've drawn in this. And this is definitely part of my tonal paper kind of obsession at the moment. I am going to do a small project based on that, so I don't know whether to do it like with owls or with incorporating like the proper stuff, or proper, that's the wrong word, illustration-y stuff in, or whether to incorporate some of the more realism that I'm doing at the moment. I'm not certain, but I do think, I better move that because it's starting to pull away from the camera. Maybe a little bit better. This is something I draw every now and again for obvious reasons. When I'm under-caffeinated, it's not a good time for me. And going back to creating bunnies. Bunny headpieces. I do think I've seen a bunny headpiece. There's a woman who makes them, but I would like to make one that is proper, full, realistic bunny. That is one of the things I regret not doing this year so far, not having the time to do, excuse me, is actually making things. Because as much as I love drawing and painting, there is a part of me now that wants to start sculpting and creating all of that, you know, and making stuff. This is one of my favorite owls in this sketchbook. I love how it came out. It's got the right balance of purples and blues, and I know it has a bit of a sheen to it, and I think that's just biro pen with a gel pen outline, but I think they're going okay. This again playing into this portrait. I'm trying to get more realistic, more trying to understand values and composition a little bit more, and by using biro pen I'm sort of committing to the idea of it rather than creating something that gets sketched out of itself almost. And I want to get better at drawing men and male faces because I tend to be stuck in just drawing ladies. This is more on that mask theme. See if I can get that in there. Owl, a chicken mask, which is something I never thought I'd draw, but I kind of like it. I'm playing about with this. This again, this is the spray paint in the background and using that as its own tonal paper. It definitely does something. Definitely could be fun. And here we are at the very, very last page. I always like to end the sketchbook these days on some sort of self-portrait. This orange beanie is my beanie, and I like to bring some of the elements in, and this is me literally drowning in coffee because that's how I get through life right now. But I hope that's got that all in focus. We're not sure. We'll see. Yeah, I've been fighting with my lighting for this one, but yeah, I think this is it. This is my 2023 sketchbook that I'm bringing to you in 2025, because I work in multiple sketchbooks all at the same time, but I still demand that I finish every single one of them. And there we are. And that is that. A huge, giant, massive amount of work, all shared in a couple of videos for you, so I hope you enjoyed. If you have any ideas for me to draw next, or any project ideas, that sort of stuff, I'm all open to this. My channel is very small, so right now I have an incredible opportunity to actually get to know everybody and to really connect and build what I want to build, which is an actual community. So feel free to like and subscribe, and let me know what you thought about this in the comments below. See you all soon.